Okay, now we're going to take what we've learned on the first side of the handout and put it into practice on the second side. So for example, here we want to determine the equation of each line in the form y equals mx plus b, given its slope and a point on the line. So part A is saying that m is equal to 2. M is just what we use for slope. So that tells us right away that we're going to put 2 in where the m is in the equation. So the first step is to start with y equals mx plus b. And then the next step is to actually sub the value of the slope into the equation. So where I have the m, I'm replacing it with the number 2, because that's what we have. Our next step was to take our value that we have for our point, take the x, which is the first point. Boy, I'm having a hard time writing in this spot for some reason. The x is the first point, the first part of the ordered pair, and the y is the second part of the ordered pair. So where I have the y in the equation, I'm going to put the 6. So the 6 is going to go right where the y was. I still have my equal sign. I still have my 2 for my slope. And then I'm going to replace the x with my value of x, which is -1. So I'm replacing it with -1, and I do that in brackets. And then we have our plus b. And then from here, we start to solve the equation. So I'm going to multiply these two numbers first, and 2 times -1 will equal -2. I still have the 6 in the front, so 6 equals -2 plus b. And then to get b by itself, we're going to undo the subtract 2 by adding 2 to both sides of the equal sign. So we add 2 to this side of the equation, so we are keeping our equation balanced. 6 plus 2 will be 8. And then we have a -2 and a +2. They undo each other. That goes away, and it leaves us with our b. So our b is equal to 8. Our y-intercept is 8. So that means the equation is y equals 2x, that's our slope, and then we have a +8 as our y-intercept. Okay, you try part B. This time it has a slope of -0.5, and it goes through the point 4, -5. You try this one, put me on pause, try it out, and then you can play the video and check and see how you did. Okay, so we start with y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b, that's the first step. Second step, we're going to take our value of the slope and put that in for the m. So we're still going to have our y. Our slope is -1/2. We're replacing the m with a -0.5. -0.5 x. Sorry, I'm trying to make my x better and I'm making it look crazy. Plus b. And then we take our point. The 4 is the x, the -5 is the y. It's alphabetical order. So the y, which is on the left side of the equal sign, will get replaced with -5. -1/2 is going to now multiply the value of x, which is 4, plus b. This is where it's handy. If you have a fraction button on your calculator, you can use it. But I just think of this, a negative times a positive will be negative. And then this really says a half of, when you're multiplying, we can use the word of, a half of 4. Well, the half of 4 would just be a 2, so the answer to that multiplication is -2. Okay, so we still have our -5 on the left side. We have equals -2 plus b. We're going to undo the subtract 2 by adding 2 to this side, but if I add 2 on that side of the equation, I have to add 2 on the other side of the equation. -5 add 2 would be -3. And then the -2 and the add 2 undo each other. It leaves us with b. So b is equal to -3. So my equation, we state the equation by putting the y and the x back in and replacing the m and the b with the slope and the y-intercept. So the equation is y equals -1/2 x minus 3. Okay, your turn. It's all up to you guys now. This is going to be your homework if you don't get it done in class. 6 questions. Just remember when you get down a little further and it says parallel, lines that are parallel have to have the same slope. Okay, parallel lines have the same slope. So if you know the slope of what line you're talking about, The line that's parallel to it will have exactly the same value for its slope.